Hello. This is a homily for the sixth Sunday of the year. And as you know, the first reading comes from Jeremiah. Jeremiah was prophet around the time that Jerusalem was invaded and the temple destroyed. And he was telling the people about the serious way in which they had offended God. And, of course, the coming retribution that was going to happen through the people who invaded from the north. And so what we see in this little piece, Jeremiah 17, is a set of curses and then a set of blessings. Now, cursed means that one is cut off from God. In some way equivalent to our hell, maybe. Blessed are those who are somehow in the presence of God, seeing the face of God, and so forth. Now, this style of putting things together so that there are curses and blessings is a way of helping people to, first of all, understand their own behavior, and then how to modify it, how to live in a way that is satisfactory to God, but not just as a kind of absent lawgiver, but as somebody who is very much present and whose presence we can enjoy even now. So the curses go to things like, cursed is the one who trusts in human beings, and basically it's the whole worldly attitude of life, trusting in human beings, finding his strength in flesh, whose heart turns away from the Lord, and so on and so on and so on. Blessed is the one who trusts in the Lord. And then this amazing image that comes up in the Psalms as well. He is like a tree planted beside the waters that stretched out its roots to the stream. It fears not the heat when it comes. So, if the people of Jerusalem had been shrewd, they would have listened to Jeremiah and would have made some kind of apology for the appalling way in which they were behaving. We have groups of people in Jerusalem going into the Hinnom Valley where there was a statue of Moloch and handing over their kids to be burned. Unfortunately, our culture today has the same devaluing of children, and so there are some parallels there, but let's leave that for another time. In the years of drought, it shows no distress, but still bears fruit. There is a shifting in the quality of life right now for those who trust in the Lord. And so what we're seeing is Jeremiah pointing out something incredibly basic to being a human being, and that is that if we hope in the Lord, trust in the Lord, virtually the same word, we're not just hoping for a missing future, that, a pie in the sky kind of thing. We're talking about the Lord here, so somebody who is constant in his promises and somebody who is constant in his relationship to us. Whatever we might do to mess up this relationship, the Lord is trustworthy and will be like the river flowing at the roots of the tree to give it nourishment. The psalm, which is Psalm 1, and again you would have heard the image of the tree coming up in Jeremiah, it comes up in the Psalm 1, and the antiphon is, blessed are they who hope in the Lord. Again, this lesson about hope, in a sense of building a relationship with God, not just hoping for something that's missing in my life right now, but hoping in the sense that I am living this relationship with God. God's chosen to relate to me. Why, I don't know. I don't deserve it, but he has chosen to relate to me and to be a constant companion in this relationship. The middle verse refers again to the image of the tree, planted near running water that yields its fruit in due season, and so on. Not so the wicked, not so. You have the wicked being like chaff which the wind drives away. For the Lord watches over the just, and watching over would be another way of describing a real relationship, much as we say a father or a mother watches over their family. In the second reading, you have Paul writing to the Corinthian community, and here you have again an instruction about hope. In this time, in this particular text, it's a hope in Jesus Christ. If Christ rose from the dead, then we can hope that we will rise from the dead. And again, not as just like hoping to win the lottery. This is a certainty. We are locked into this way of existing that culminates in resurrection, provided we trust in Jesus Christ. If we don't do that, he says, we are the most pitiable people of all. We have actually said that we're following Christ, but we're not actually following Christ. The antiphon comes from Luke chapter 6, and it says, "Rejoice and be glad, your reward will be great in heaven." Part of the problem with this saying has always been that people who attack Christianity imagine that heaven is somehow far away. That here you are suffering, you hope, your hope is in heaven, and heaven is distant. Well, in fact, if we understand heaven correctly, it is already being in the mind of God. And so when we talk about, or Jesus talks about, the kingdom being present among us, that's what he's getting at, because the kingdom simply becomes more and more and more intense until it is the fully glorious kingdom of Jesus Christ in heaven. If you've ever dealt with holy people, you will know that they're already touching on the edges of the kingdom at various times in their lives. And so it's not that distant for them. They know that it pops up here and there and everywhere in their life as they trust completely and totally in God. The gospel is a gospel that we know very well from either Matthew, the Sermon on the Mount, or here Luke. Pretty much the same text, except Luke has a different structure. And what he does is he does the Old Testament thing. He talks about blessed are those, and then woe to those. In other words, Old Testament word, cursed are those. So here you have, blessed are those who are poor, for the kingdom of God is yours. Blessed are you who are now hungry, for you will be satisfied. Blessed are you who are now weeping, for you will laugh, etc., etc. The big one is being insulted and excluded because you believe in Jesus Christ. And rejoice and leap for joy on that day, because your reward will be great in heaven. On the other hand, woe to you who are rich. You have received. It's a very secular problem with the worldliness. Worldliness ends here. It is secular in the most brutal sense. Woe to you who are filled now. Secular sense again. You will be hungry. Woe to you who laugh now, etc., etc., etc. Woe to you when all speak well of you, for their ancestors treated the false prophets in this way. The ideals are always that the people who were the real prophets in the Old Testament, they were the truly faithful ones. And there were various other faithful people in Israel, but the prophets were used as the kind of shorthand for the faithful ones in the Old Testament. If you're faithful now, you will have all these links with the heavenly Jerusalem that already begin to burst into your life right now. And again, if you've talked to holy people, they do see this very, very often. Have a beautiful day.